Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode with the Road to Glory podcast. I'm Juliet.
And I'm Cecilia, and in today's episode, we are here to talk about the final race weekend in F3. Sadly, the season is already over. We're not prepared for this. But there was so much happening in Monza this week. So, we've decided we are gonna give this whole episode to F3, and then if you're really excited about F2, stay tuned because we'll have a whole episode about F2 in Monza next week.
Such an iconic circuit. And so good for feeder series. There's so much overtaking that happens. So yeah, we just decided to wrap up. It's so sad. Wrap up the final race of the F3 2025 season. And give it its own episode so we can completely dive into what happened in the weekend, and then also just have a little bit of a look back on how the championship landed up ending up. Yeah, it was a wild weekend. I mean, even in practice, we just go straight into it, and there's red flags and chaos, honestly.
Yeah, the people who say that there are not enough action and stuff going on in F1 and Monza, you need to watch F3 and F2 because that's non-stop action. That's also why there's no way we're gonna be able to talk about everything that happened this weekend, even though it's just F3, because it has been insane.
Yeah, we very, very busy, and also F3, F2 has 2 races a weekend. So there's so much to dive into, from the races to the practice and the qualifying, especially because at Monza, specifically F3, not F2. With F3, for qualifying, they get split into 2 groups. So you have Group A and Group B that each go out for a 10-minute session. So there's even more chaos that happens because if you have 2 separate qualifying. So yeah, a lot happened.
Yes, so in this episode, we will be talking about some of the big points of what happened across the weekend, and then finish off by taking a look at how the whole season went, kind of wrapping up the season now that it's sadly done. Also, it's also a big moment for the podcast because I just realized this is our first full F3 season that we have covered every race. Pretty much from start to finish, because we started the podcast, for those who maybe new listeners and viewers, we started the podcast right before the F1, F2, F3 season started. So it is crazy that now we've come to the end of the first F3 season we're covering.
It's over. It's so insane, and I'm very proud of us as well for covering the whole F3 season. Didn't miss a weekend. I mean, let's ignore Silverstone because we were there, so...
Yeah. So we're excused.
Exactly. I'm just so sad it's over. It feels way too soon. I feel like we're halfway through the year, but we've had so many races already.
Yeah. And also, obviously, this was the last year that, or at least for now, that we had the final being in Monza. Because next year we're gonna get the craziness of having the final race, which will probably be the title decider if things goes like they usually do, and not like this year, in Mad Ring, in a city, or city, what am I trying to say?
Street circuit.
In a street circuit that no one has ever raced at, because that's a good idea.
Oh, the best idea they've ever had. I'm being very sarcastic. Why are you doing the final race of the year there as well? It just doesn't make sense to me at all to finish off at a track you've never been at. After they've been there a couple times, that's fine. But it just... And also, I just feel like Monza should be the end. It's going to be weird when it's not, because it's going to be later. So it's okay.
It's fine. I'm sure it'll be fine. It's just Monza is so iconic as the final race of the F3 championship. But also it's only because that it wouldn't make sense in terms of the F1 calendar, I guess, with when Monza has to be held, and then compared to when Madrid is supposed to be held. So obviously that's just the way it goes. But I guess we should get into what actually happened this weekend in Monza, so we don't yap for ages.
Yeah. Focus. And go back to the beginning of the weekend where we had practice. As I mentioned, we had a red flag in practice, which was caused by Roman Belinsky, which was very unfortunate. It's not really how you want to start your weekend. He lost the rear of the car and crashed into the barriers. But luckily for him, I'm not going to spoil anything, but he just has a lot better weekend after it. So maybe it was lucky that he crashed. He was meant to do that so that he could have wonderful race later on.
Yes, you could say that he definitely found the limit, and maybe that was helpful for him later in the other sessions.
Yes, exactly. I know on our last episode, I was very upset over somebody being replaced.
Yeah.
There was no reason for that, but I didn't know that at the time, okay? I did not know that. But James Headley actually did race for the final weekend. He just switched teams over to VAR, replacing Santiago Ramos. Sorry for him. You have had to leave. I don't know why, because VAR just said like they've decided to mutually split. Break up.
Literally.
But yeah, he did not race, and we had James Headley in VAR, which we are very excited to see him back on the grid.
Yes, because obviously James has had kind of an odd season because he used to race for AIX, obviously, but he didn't from the start of the season. He was like one of the many AIX drivers, which like when we saw the driver standings and at the bottom, it was just like AIX driver, AIX driver, AIX driver. It like looked like an absolute joke. Like what has this year been for AIX? But yeah, he got the seat later in the season, then hurt his hand. I'm pretty sure, and like was out for a couple of races, got back.
He hurt his hand in Monaco, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
He crashed. He was out for Barcelona, but then ended up coming back for his home race in Silverstone where we met him, which was great. So yeah, a very disturbed season for him. I really hope next year he has a full-time seat and gets to do the full season, because I feel like it will help with the momentum that he has, that he's gaining, to properly get up there and score points like consistently.
Yes, I can't wait for like the F3 silly season to like probably start when we like get the post-season tests and see what the teams are deciding to go with which drivers, because often that can be a hint to like who they're gonna go with next year. Obviously it's still pretty early, but we will keep you up to date. But now talking about James, obviously as you said, he replaced Santiago Ramos and we don't know why. So it's like really sad to see, also because like he had a pretty good season this year, like race winner this season as well.
Exactly. Unfortunately, we'll never know. I would love if someone could spill secrets to me. If you work for VAR, would like to let us know. Yeah. I'm very curious.
Same, like we actually need to know. So like if you have some inside scoop, let us know, please. But yeah, obviously James moved to VAR because, as we mentioned in last week's episode, we had a new driver for AIX again, which was Fernando Barrichello.
I keep wanting to call him his dad's name.
Rubens. Yeah. I was like, the first thing I saw in practice was like an interview with him, really painting it like, I am not just my father's son. So like, he's aware that most people, whenever they hear his last name, they just instantly think about his father. He also kind of looks like his father, to be honest. Like, you're not questioning who he is. Yeah. But yeah, he had kind of a rough start to F3 though. Obviously, he has been confirmed for next season, so hopefully it will go better for him there. But like already in practice, he had a bit of a moment. But like overall, an okay-ish start for him, I guess, because he's not used to this F3 car, obviously.
Yeah, exactly. You know what else I wanted to note? We still have the two black premas of Ugo and Brando.
Oh
and
God.
Can we please get this McLaren back on their cars? Like, I'm really wondering what they're going to do next year, who their drivers are going to be and what liveries they're going to be in, because I'm like pretty sure we won't get Noel back. But I'm really curious to see if they can get this weight issue sorted on the car with performance-wise. It's so confusing that they still have a black livery on two of their cars.
It is so odd. Also because obviously Noel Leon being the only just Premier driver not backed by any F1 team, he like still has the normal OG Premier livery, which we love, by the way. Thank you so much, Premier, for keeping that. But
Yeah.
like hearing the commentators talk about Ugo and Brando's car of like the black Premier livery, it was like, no, this is not the black Premier livery. Can we just not make this happen next year again?
Yeah. Because also, like, why don't you just put the Prema livery on their cars and then have the back wing saying McLaren or something like that? Like, I know that's
Exactly.
probably not what McLaren want, but like,
But I also don't want a black car though. Like,
exactly. It's so hard to tell the difference between them. I can't.
yes, we literally have to like eagle eyes see the driver number, otherwise you don't have a chance to like know who is who. So
Exactly.
extremely weird, and it as we have mentioned it before in podcasts, but it's such a gray area if like everyone just starts stripping off the paint, which obviously has also been an issue in F1 that cars get more and more carbon black, and now in F2 even we also saw MP changing their livery to make it more black. So like, can we just not?
It doesn't look that great on track, and you just it's a cheeky way of trying to find performance
Yeah,
when
it
I
is.
think you should be able to find performance in other ways, not just taking everything off the car so it's as light as possible, pretty much.
Exactly, because like then it's just everyone are gonna remove their liveries if that's a performance advantage. Like it makes no sense. Hopefully it will be sorted next year so we don't have 30 black cars going around. Because that's also what I love about feeder series is that when you see all the cars together on the grid, it's such a colorful grid we have compared to F1 and it's so nice to look at. So like please guys, can we find a solution that doesn't
Yeah,
include just removing all paint?
I totally agree.
Yeah, but I guess we can move on from our livery talks and I guess move into quali because I don't know if too much more happened in practice. Also, it's not obviously an important session, really.
No, there were some ups and downs. The premise seemed quite fast,
Yeah,
which
they
is
did.
looking good for Prema because it is like they're an Italian team. So I'd say
Mm.
both Imola and Monza are their home races, but their base is not like their team factory is not that far from Monza. So I feel like it's more of a home race for them at Monza and like Ferrari and Prema. It's huge in Italy. So
Yeah.
for their home race, I feel like it was really promising for them to start off in the first session of the entire weekend being on top. And then we jump into qualifying in F3, where even though we've been split up into two groups,
Mm.
the at Monza, I mean, if you watch F1, you know this. At Monza, the toe counts for so much, being behind another driver. But it's even more in F2 and F3. So
Mm.
F3, we get everybody behind each other, and no one wants to be the first person to go. I definitely think it's getting better, especially the two groups, but they still all line up on like the corner before the start finish straight, and they're like, I don't want to go.
No, like it is definitely an issue and it's not really that easily fixable. Like it is a better solution to make it into two groups because we have seen in the past some more dangerous situations where literally almost like let's say 29 cars are just stacked up in the final corner and one car comes at full speed. That could be a horrendous incident. Like it's just waiting to happen. So now we have split it into 15 people at a time, but it still feels kind of gimmicky because no one wants to go first, and like
No.
people will even go through the pit lane if they see that they're gonna be the first car and just take another lap. Like it doesn't matter to them because they know if they are the ones to go first, it can be a lot of tenths lost. And like with it being so close in F3, that can like be the difference between pole and starting outside of the top 12 easily.
Yeah. The toe literally counts for either like up to half a second or 8 tenths.
Yeah,
And that's
it's
like
massive.
compared to a perfectly good lap without a toe,
Mm.
and then you can get that on top if you have a toe. Like that's completely game changing. So obviously that's what you'd want to do, but it then causes some interesting situations.
Yes, because obviously no one wants to be the first driver to go without a tow, but still, like, someone has to do it. Like, I'm sorry, but we can't line up all the cars so everyone would get a tow. It's just not possible. And like with qualifying being split into two, you literally only have 10 minutes to get your lap in, which also we saw having a big effect on like what happened in qualifying, because obviously in Group A, which was the odd numbered cars, we had the championship winner, Rafa Camara, so obviously no stress, he's already won. But oh boy, if he hadn't already won, he got his lap, which was by the way the best in his group,
Yeah.
that lap time deleted straight to the back of the grid. Like, and you don't have the time to set another one because it's literally only those 10 minutes.
You literally have one flying lap. You really don't have time to mess around with it. And especially with how many cars are in the field, you need to make sure you've crossed the line in time. So unfortunately for Rafa, he had his lap deleted, which is devastating, but luckily he had won the championship, so there was no more pressure on him. But I really thought we were going to get another Rafa pole, but it's fine. It's fine.
Yeah. It was like the racing gods went, you know what? This is the final race. We actually need to see him go from last to like however far up the grid he can get. And oh boy, did he deliver on the Sunday, which we will get to later. But before that, obviously, we mentioned that you only have like one flying lap realistically. That was what happened in Group A because there were so many shenanigans of people who didn't want to go. So like they really only ended up with one lap, where in Group B, I think the teams realized that, okay, guys, we can't be doing this. So they actually did end up going for 2 flying laps, but which still is so critical, getting your position right and your timing right, because we still did see drivers getting caught out by not getting in the second lap. For example, like I had a moment where I strongly believe Noah Stromstead could be getting his first pole in F3 because like he had the fastest time in the first flying lap. Like he was on it, and we get to the second crucial lap where everyone are improving, and Noah didn't get to set a second lap. So, like, obviously that drops him way down, and he qualified P19.
Yeah, it's really, really unfortunate. But it's just so unfortunate for these drivers that either get lap time deleted, don't have another chance to go, or just don't get to do more than one push lap. But in the first group, we had Ugo P1, which was so exciting. I was like, oh gosh, we're gonna get an Ugo pole. Like, this is what I've been expecting from him. Like, consistently, I thought he was gonna be on pole the entire year. So I was really excited that in like the final race weekend, we could see him on pole. And another amazing qualifying in Group A for Inthapuzak, P2. He has really found something this season. He's been great, with like multiple wins. So I was not surprised to see him up there. And then we had Roman Belinsky in P3. So, you know, a better session than practice. But you know what was like the most exciting thing was Group 2's pole was Brad Benavides in that AIX redemption for not getting to start on pole last time, putting it on pole again in the AIX, which we know is a difficult car to drive. Just amazing. He's really found something. Did they say he's the oldest driver in F3?
Yeah, I think so, because obviously, as we have talked about before, he has been up to F2 and then gone back down to the lower feeder series again. So, like, I don't remember how old he is. Possibly, like, what, 24 years oldish?
Yeah, he is. I'm pretty sure they said he's the oldest F3 driver. Yeah. Probably one of the most experienced.
Definitely. But like getting that AIX on pole position. Okay, he actually is 24.
Woo!
On the back. How did I know? It's because I'm also 24. I could feel the energy of him. He's like a 2001 baby like me. Which is also like crazy because that's the whole thing we talked about with F2 with Richard for sure. That he's from 2000, so like 1 year older than Brad. But that he is older than Oscar Piastri leading the F1 championship. And like Brad is the same age as Oscar, which is crazy to think about. But definitely a great performance by him because this is his revenge for Spa, the feature race being cancelled, because he didn't get to start from pole there, obviously, because the race didn't happen. So like he needed that moment for it to happen again, and for like taking pole position for the second time in 3 rounds here in the end of the season is so promising, and it will be very interesting if we will see him again next year on the grid.
Please, Brad, we would really love you to be in F2 next year. Feel like it's your time now. Who knows what team he will go to? Maybe he'll stick with AIX, but I don't know. We'll still have to see how F2 pans out, because I don't think anything is decided besides the AIX F3 seats, which is understandable.
Yeah.
But yeah, then we had Brad under investigation, and I was like, oh my
Yes.
goodness, is he gonna lose his pole with the faster time than Group B, Group A, Group 1, Group 2? Now I've confused myself.
Yeah, obviously, the second group. They call it Group B. I don't know who makes these rules. Like, it could might as well have been Group 1 and Group B. What? Group 1, Group 2, but it is Group A and Group B. Very important. Not really. But yeah, that's also like obviously just being lucky or unlucky, like what group you get in, because it's literally just thrown out of a hat if it's even or odd numbers that will start first. So interesting to see. Also, obviously, fighting for second place in the championship, which was the only real fight that was left now that the Drivers' Championship was already over for Camara winning it. It was still Nicolas Solov in Group B that had his time deleted as well. And we were like, the commentators literally went, will we have Rafa and Nicola starting last, like literally in the last row to get her? But that's the thing about Group B. They were smart enough to like actually manage to put in 2 laps. So he did manage to set a new lap, which didn't get deleted, and he qualified. Okay.
Yeah. You know what I was saying about Prema before? Actually, good qualifying for them, because they actually had no P2 as well. So they had a driver on the front row with Ugo and a driver on the second row with Noel, which was good for them in their home race, as I said, and they really started to show some more form of race pace as well. I mean, Noel's had podiums, and we'll get to what happens later. He's very experienced as well, so it'll be interesting to see where he can go. And then also, one thing that we have not mentioned is, although we had the Drivers' Championship all wrapped up, the teams was completely wide open, with Trident and Campos battling it out, which was very stressful during the races for that, because Trident had awful qualifying.
Yeah, you literally read my mind, because that was my next point, that even though Drivers is all wrapped up, we definitely still had the team's championship. And oh my god, just looking at qualifying, all 3 Trident drivers outside of the top 12. So like, we knew this would be difficult, especially with Rafa starting literally last and Noah starting 19. It will be a big climb for them to get up into the points, because we had Campos, which obviously went into the race weekend being second, but not that far away from Trident, had 2 of the drivers qualifying in the top 12. So like, already looking at that, it didn't look too good. And like, we'll definitely get to that in the races, because that was like the main point of the feature race. I feel like was very much like, who will seal the team's championship, because in FIA F3 it has been Prema almost every year winning. Trident has won 1 year, and Campos has never won F3. So it was very intense. And also talking about Prema, obviously talking about them winning every year besides this year, has been really nice to like see them finally finding some form, because it has been such a struggle for them with this new F3 car. And it's definitely also what they need right now if they want to keep Ugo, for example, in the team, because he could might as well just try and get a seat at a better team, because like, if the team doesn't improve, I don't think we would see Ugo next year there, but I guess we'll wait and see.
Yeah, Ugo, I mean, he has so much talent, as we've spoken about before, so I definitely think if he wants to move, he could go anywhere. You know what? It's actually not Ugo. McLaren are in charge of him.
Yeah.
And when you're in a junior program, they tell you where you go. They find what seat they think is best for you. So if
Yeah.
McLaren don't have trust, they could take Ugo and Brando out and take them somewhere else. But I
Yeah.
definitely think they showed more pace in these final races. So we'll have to wait and see what they decide to do. But I guess we can probably move into our first race, which is our sprint race, our short
Yes.
race. And one funny thing to note, I feel like I had to say this, the move of James to VAR was so late they didn't have time to change the opening credits.
No, I also like I kept an eye out for that and was like, have they actually changed it for like the 100th time this weekend? But they hadn't, so like it was still the old
Yeah,
title.
Fernando was not there,
No,
and Santiago was still there. So yeah,
you know the graphic design team or like media team was just like, we are not changing it one more time
I'm
for
on
one race
strike. I'm done.
weekend. Yeah, they were like, we are not doing this, guys. Can you just keep your drivers for once?
Just keep the same driver from one weekend to the next.
Yeah, but obviously the sprint had a pretty chaotic start. We had some bold moves from the ART drivers that both
Yeah.
started high up on the grids, and already on lap one we had a safety car because of Ivan Dominguez, unfortunately. So yeah, chaotic start to the race already there.
Definitely. And you know when you're watching a Monza F2, F3 race, that it's not going to be smooth. There's going to be a lot of
No.
stop-starts with safety cars, with
Yes.
people battling going into the gravel. So we had even Dominguez, who had front wing damage because he had contact with the wall, which brought the safety car out. Rafa had a really good start. He actually gained like 5 positions on the first lap. And that just kind of shows you the kind of pace that he actually had on board. Like, imagine if he had been on pole. Obviously
Yeah.
not the sprint, but he still would have been up there in the top part of the field. But yeah, he had a bit of a revenge drive.
He definitely did, and we love to see it because, like, that's the one thing that we hadn't really seen from Rafa because he has been so good in qualifying. It was nice to see him actually having to work for it, like really having to work for it, coming literally from last. So that was great to see. Also, like for our actual pole sitter for the feature race, not for the sprint, but Brad Benavides, also didn't have the start to the sprint race that he would have wanted, especially not starting pole the next day, because he did get a 10-second time penalty for running into the back of Intro Pruvasak, which I got so nervous for him because if obviously in F3 we don't pit, so it's not like you pit and serve the penalty because you would lose additional time if you did that because no one else are gonna do that. Also, like, so that obviously didn't happen. They could choose to do it just to be on the safe side, but that meant if he for some reason DNF'd in the sprint, he would get a grid penalty, like a grid drop for tomorrow when he would start pole. So it's just like, Brad, please just get safely through this race so you can serve the 10 seconds. We do not want to risk anything. And obviously he did finish the race, so like no reason to worry, but I was worried for him.
Yeah. It is definitely a stressful one in F3 when we have no pit stops. But on the topic of 10-second time penalties, I
Yes.
honestly think I need to nickname Nicola Lacorte to Dennis the Menace. Because this man and his
Oh,
10-second time penalty.
Yes. He's like the new Esteban Ocon with like 5-second time penalty to Esteban Ocon. That is like Nicola de Corte in F3 this season.
So his first one, he got 10-second penalty for being out of position at the safety car line, which just unfortunate for him. What did he get a second one for?
I don't even remember. I also just wrote
I
down
have it
like I
written
called
down.
it 10-second time penalty. No, but like it's Nicola Lacorte. He's the driver that literally got a race ban for too many penalty points.
Yes, after Monaco, I'm pretty sure he was a menace there.
Yeah, and the interesting thing is I'm seeing some rumors that he could move on to like a better team, not saying who, but like he could get a good seat next year possibly, which I'm kind of surprised by because I'm sure he's a good driver, but he hasn't really shown it that much this season considering all his mistakes and incidents. I'm sorry, but like
Yeah, I feel like he has had some mistakes that he shouldn't have, you know? Like
yeah,
not
agree.
incidents on track, but like really driver mistakes. Um and he's backed by Alpine, which is
Yeah.
interesting. That's all I'll say.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yes. I agree. But moving on from him, we also have to mention Ugo gave me a heart attack multiple times because he had some big moments. Like the first, I thought he would go straight into like the pit wall, essentially like the end of the pit lane exit. Like he had such a big moment and he saved it somehow. So nothing happened of it. But like, oh my God,
I was so
give
sure
me a
he
heart
crashed
attack.
there at that
Yeah,
moment because
agree.
he was trying to overtake, and I don't know what happened, but suddenly he
Yeah,
goes all the way almost into the pit wall out of the
yeah,
screens of like
yeah. Out
the
of camera shot.
and
Yeah,
then comes back suddenly. I was like, even
yeah.
the commentators, whoa, what happened there?
Yeah, that was such a scary moment, but obviously nothing happened. But like definitely the start of some difficult races for Ugo, unfortunately, even though he qualified so well.
Yeah, he landed up having to take the escape road at turn one, which then landed up dropping him out of the points, which was unfortunate for him. And then we go back to our championship fight, where our highest qualifying Trident car with Charlie Wirtz lands up having a very unfortunate incident
Yes.
with Brando, which was not good because
Mm.
Brando's also home race. He's Italian himself. Um,
Yeah.
both their front wings come off. Luckily for Brando, he kept going, but Charlie actually stopped and brought out a safety car.
Yeah, it was an unfortunate moment because obviously they went three wide
Yeah.
into turn one. But also, like, it was no Leon, I believe, on the inside. So, like, literally just Charlie being kind of sandwiched between Noel, who didn't know there were two cars on his left. And then, yeah, obviously Charlie having, as you say, Brando on his left. They collided, and also like I don't know what happened for Brando Badura, but just this deciding or couldn't turn, I don't know, he went straight into the things that are in the runoff areas, and like that,
He went straight through the bollards. Like,
yeah, and that is what broke his car. I'm like, are you serious right now? Like, if he could just have turned the car and like done the thing he's supposed to do, like obviously I am not sure if he was incapable of it or if it's just like I'm going straight on. But like
yeah.
that was what damaged his car. It's like so sad. Just think about like he could have survived the initial crash with
Yeah.
Charlie, but no,
Charlie could not survive that because Charlie got a lot of
no.
air actually. Like he flew through the
Yes.
air and then crashed into Brando, and that was his
Yeah.
race done.
Yeah.
And that was unfortunate for him because it brought out a safety car. And we landed up going to a one lap shootout, which is
Yes. Insane.
intense.
Yeah, I wrote down on my notes, race ends behind safety car, and they're like, oh nope,
No,
okay,
no.
we are going for a one lap shootout because that's a wise idea in F3 in Monza. Let's go for it.
Yeah, and a one lap shootout, the chaos that happened with the championship P2 fight is still going on, with
Yes.
Nicholas Hoff spinning at the last corner and getting
Yeah.
overtaken by so many cars and dropping him completely out of the points.
Yeah. It was literally like we didn't see it live as it happened because
Yeah.
obviously we had to see the front of the grid, like who actually got the checkered flag first. So it was just like, did something happen to Nicholas' car? And then like after, because he was just going so slowly, but then we obviously see he kind of got spun around because another driver, it was the QST possibly, like not turned into him, but like went straight in front of him, which then spun Nicola around, which is
Yeah.
very unusual to see in that corner. But that obviously lost him a lot of positions.
Yeah, because he was going so much slower than everyone else who was up to
Yeah.
racing speed. But we had Rafa Kamara, who unfortunately did not get into the points, but he
No.
did drive from P30 to P12, which is just insane. Like, yes, there was chaos, but there were a lot of safety cars. We had a lot of laps behind the safety car. So he
Yeah, we did.
still, with the racing laps that he had, made so many places up. And then on the podium, we had Tim Tramnitz with his back-to-back sprint wins, not to be lived for very long.
No, unfortunately not, because obviously it was all well and good when the race ended and we thought Tim had won. But then a while after the race and the podium ceremony, we got the notification that Tim Tramnitz loses his win because of a 10-second time penalty, which also, like, I believe dropped him way out of the points because, as we said, the safety car lasted until like the last lap, so we only had one lap. So obviously the time gaps were so small.
Very close.
So not the way he wanted to end the race, I'm sure. But we did get a new winner instead, which we're very excited about.
Yes, we got Roman Belinsky having his first win. And now when we had the podium ceremony, his supporters and his family who were there watching him thought he got P2 and they were so happy
Yeah.
for him. His dad was literally sobbing, which made me
Yeah.
sob. And now
It
I'm
was
just
so
imagining,
cute.
like, what did he think when he found out that his son finally won an F3
Yeah.
race? And for those of you who don't know, Roman had actually, I think it was last year, he had a really big crash, but he does not have full strength in one of his feet. So, like, it's not easy for him to drive. And yet he's here performing consistently so well, scoring really good points for Roden. And I was just so happy for him.
Yes, obviously it's upsetting that he got his first win in the category without knowing it at the time, but like still, even though he only got the trophy afterward and could celebrate afterward, it must still have been an amazing time for him, like an incredible moment. Also, he's the first Polish winner in the category of all, so exciting for Poland as well.
Definitely, they could not hear their national anthem on the podium, but I am sure if we get, I'm sure we'll get him racing in either F2 or F3 next year, but wherever he races, I'm sure we will hear that Polish national anthem on the podium. But if we go down to P2, we got Martinius Stenchon, who had a great race. Good for McLaren, at least somebody is scoring points.
Yes, at least they have one driver that seems to not be cursed at the moment.
Exactly. And then we got Lawrence Van Hoopen in P3, which is a good race for him. Good points for them. Not good points for Trident, though.
No, actually, now that you mention Martinez Stenchon and Lawrence Van Hoopen, I feel like this is a perfect moment to mention a Fader Series rumor that has been going around, which is actually that these two drivers specifically could be moving up to F2 for Baku already and driving the rest of the season, which is crazy, but something we have mentioned before that it usually does happen. That's now the F3 season is over. Some drivers may get the opportunity to finish the season in F2, and right now the rumor is that Trident could get rid of both of the drivers in F2 and maybe put in Van Hooven and Stenchon. But obviously this is just rumor, but
yeah.
Crazy.
It seemed like a bit of like a random driver pairing as well.
Very much so.
I'm like, Martinius and Lawrence? Like,
yes, where does that come from?
But it'll be very interesting to keep track of this and to see what actually happens, because I definitely have a feeling we're going to get some drivers swapped out, and I wouldn't be surprised with Trident in F2 not performing to the greatest standards. They are at the bottom of the championship at the moment. So it'll be interesting to see if they decide to change both their drivers. And it'll be interesting to see if we do get Martinez and Lawrence, what can they do?
Yes, because obviously Trident, even though they're literally one of the best teams in F3, they are struggling in F2 and they have struggled for a while. Obviously, currently in the championship, they only have 2 points, and those 2 points were scored by Sami Megatuniv, and Max Esterson has scored 0 points, unfortunately. So it will be sad to see them go if they decide to replace them.
Yeah.
But like, seeing from a team's perspective, they really don't have anything to lose in putting in 2 rookies, to be fair.
No, exactly. But I think that kind of wraps out our sprint race. And we
Yes.
can move along to our feature race, our final race of the 2025 Formula 3 Championship, which is so sad. We had an
Yes.
American front row lockout, which
Yes. Very odd to see. Like, that doesn't happen often. Like, has it ever happened, honestly? I
don't
don't think
know.
so. Yeah. Good
Because
for the Americans.
we talk about no Americans in F1, but then we have an
Mm,
American front row lockout in F3 with Ugo and Brad.
yes.
Brad had a good start, which I was really cheering for because I was like, this is
Yes.
your redemption time.
Mm,
We need this to happen. But then again, Trident just kind of got cursed. I don't know what happened to
yeah.
them this weekend. Because
Nope.
we had a safety car coming out for Charlie,
Yeah.
who was again their highest qualifying driver. The one that
Yeah.
they were expecting to score points did not.
Exactly. No, it hit the dream of Charlie getting in the points ended pretty quickly, to be honest. I didn't even write down when he DNF'd because I was just like, oh well, of course this happened.
Yeah, bad weekend.
Yeah, but at least we did have Noah and Rafa on the move because, oh my god, both of them were having great races and like trying to save the championship. But obviously, very quickly into the race, we saw that Campos were having a great race, both with Interpurusakt and Solo. So it would take a miracle for Noah and Rafa to get into positions. That would be enough because like they had amazing races, both of them, really climbing up the field from 30th and 19th on the grid, and they both got into the points, but sadly it wasn't enough.
No, it was not. Another sad moment was for Tim Tramnitz. He had front wing damage from the start, which
Yeah.
made him pit, which obviously you're not meant to, but it's not convenient to pit in an F3 race. You
No.
lose a lot of time. Tim is fighting for like P2, P3 in the championship. You know, he's fighting for those podium spots, hoping he can get a good race, and then he has to pit, which was pretty much the end of his podium championship fight to get on the podium for the
Yes.
championship.
It was very unfortunate for him because we have spoken throughout the season about him kind of just always being there and like being close to being a championship contender, which he was for a while. But yeah, things just kind of fell apart for him here in Monza. And instead, we obviously had Nicolas Solov climbing his way up to P2 in the standings because he obviously fought for the win. He didn't win in the end, but got safely home in P2 with his teammate in the Pursak winning the race. But yeah, obviously before that, going back, we had our rookie driver, Fernando Barrichello, losing his car on his own, ending his first feature race pretty early, unfortunately.
Yeah, it was really unfortunate because he kind of just got on the gravel on the corner there, spun his car around, and then got beached in the gravel on the other side. But you know what? It was his first full weekend, and it is hard to get to grips with this car. So I feel like for a first weekend, he got a lot of experience, and that will help him going into his full-time season next year.
Yeah, and you also like could think this is just like a very bad rookie mistake. How do you just lose the car? But then, not that long after, we literally have Ugo, which, okay, he's also a rookie, but he has driven the full season. Ugo challenging for the lead. Like, he wants that first F3 win, which he hasn't gotten this year. He has gotten close a couple of times, getting on the podium, but like fighting for the lead, and he loses the car in the same exact corner as Fernando later on. So that was his race over as well. Really not what you wanted to see for Prema's home race, but yeah, he was out of the race from there.
Very unfortunate for Ugo. Luckily for Brad, he could go through fine. Like, he didn't hit the gravel, but I don't know, something happened with Ugo, which was unfortunate with Prema. But, you know, wrapping up Ugo's season, it has not been the best, right? But I definitely think he's shown he has pace. He's been up there in a couple
For
of
sure.
qualifyings. So I definitely think Ugo could be someone to watch next year if Prema get control of this car completely, or he
Yes.
moves to a different team. I definitely think, bold prediction here, I think he definitely could be someone fighting for the championship next year.
Yes, because that's kind of the expectations people had for him going into the year. Obviously, we didn't know that Prema was gonna fall off a cliff with this new F3 car. But yeah, to be honest, I really could see him move over to Triton because that seems to be the safe bet these last couple of years for going for the Drivers' Championship. But I would love to see him stay with Prema. Obviously, we love Prema here on this podcast.
Me too.
But yeah, we'll have to wait and see. And like, if he gets the car that he like needs to obviously be able to be comfortable with the car being able to challenge for wins, I would definitely expect him to be one of the championship contenders for next year as well, because we know that he will stay in F3. I would be very surprised if we saw him move up to F2 already. So
yeah, I'd be interested if he did. Who did McLaren bribe to get him up there? Because yes, he has shown he has pace, but I just think he needs more experience in the F3 car.
But honestly, you never know though with McLaren, because I also did not expect Alex Dunn to move up to F2 already after
You're
1
so
year,
right.
which is also a McLaren junior. So you never know with them. But I was surprised by that.
With Alex now, like, fighting for the lead in the championship, like, and not having a great season last year, an MP in F3. So, like, you know what? Honestly, maybe he could.
Honestly, I just feel like some F1 teams are maybe just beginning to see F3 as being kind of optional. Because obviously we have Kimi just not even bothering with F3, going straight into F2. More drivers, even though they didn't really challenge for the championship in F3 with that first rookie year they had, just move up to F2. So like, it could happen, but I would hope to see Ugo stay in F3 because I really want to see him challenge for the championship next year, and I could see that happening in F3.
Yeah, I agree. But overall for Campos, they had a great race. They had Inter Privazak winning, which is a whole bunch of points, and they had Nicola P2. So we had a new team's champion of Campos Racing.
Congrats, Campos. Well done. I was like very hard fought, it must be said.
Definitely. I'm very excited to see who they have in their team next year, because I do not see them having Nicola or Mary in their team, because they've both done 3 seasons. So it'll be interesting to see if we get some Red Bull Juniors in there again.
Yeah, I could definitely see a pretty new lineup for them next year, and we'll have to wait and see who they are gonna go with. But it was a great achievement for sure for them to show that they could finally win the team's championship. And also, like, obviously they were close with multiple of the drivers to the actual drivers' championship as well. Like, they were in the hunt. In the end, it wasn't enough, but they have definitely shown that they have great pace. So it'll be interesting seeing next year what will happen.
Agreed. And we had Nicola chaining, what's the word? Like, we had Nicola finishing P2 in
Yeah,
the Drivers' Championship. So you know what? My prediction was not too far up. I did say he would win, but you know what?
that's
We will
true.
have to go with P2. And he's definitely going to move up to F2 next year.
Yeah,
Interesting to see if he sticks with Campos. He's shown he has pace. And he's a Red Bull Junior, so that seems to be the place that he will go. But honestly, we don't know. But yeah, Campos won by 11 points, which not a lot, and it could have changed.
no.
But we did have Rafa, who came last to fifth, to score great points, which was again an insane drive.
Yeah, and also like things were really kicking off because Noah obviously started P19, and like he was oh my god, he was in front of Rafa for most of the time, and then we obviously had, I don't even remember what driver it was. Like I have cleared it away from my memory because I don't want to think about it. But he was run off track. Like the other driver on the inside of him literally also went into the gravel, so Noah had to go straight on in one of the corners. I don't remember
Yeah,
which one.
it was
That
Tuka
definitely set him
Tappinen.
back. Oh yeah, of course.
Unfortunately, Tuka literally shoved Noah onto the
Yes.
grass. Like, Noah had no grip once he got onto the grass.
No.
He was skating. Luckily, he
Yeah.
rejoined safely because I was so scared.
Mm.
He was just gonna, like, completely take
Yes.
another driver out when he rejoined. But luckily for him, he rejoined and he was fine. But he so could have easily taken another driver out.
Yeah. Also, great driving for Noah, honestly, to keep the car under control because he was really just going for it. Because, like, if there was some questions, I feel like, how he rejoined the track because, like, could have been kind of unsafe rejoin, but luckily he didn't get a penalty for that. Because also, like, if he had slowed down, I'm confident that he would just have spun around on the
Yeah,
grass and gravel. Like, he would not
definitely.
have gotten going. So, like, definitely he salvaged what he could, finishing right behind Rafa. Definitely a very strong race for him as well. And I was like, looking at the season as a whole, I have to mention this before I forget it. It's kind of funny seeing obviously Rafa winning the championship and Noah finishing as the second highest ranked rookie because obviously Rafa is the highest ranked rookie. This is also his rookie year. But like Noah was the second highest placed rookie driver, which we love to see. I'm so excited to see Noah hopefully continuing in F3 next year. I could definitely see him staying with Trident. We'll have to wait and see. But like what my point with this is last year in Freca, obviously Rafa won the championship as an experienced driver. But also, Noah won the rookie championship, like in Freca, because obviously they also technically crowned the highest ranked rookie there. And he finished sixth in Freca last year, which is the same position he finished in this year in F2. So he literally got like a replica of Freca now in F3, just the only difference obviously being both Rafa and Noah were rookies, where last year in Freca it was only Noah. But like that is such an odd stat. I felt like I had to mention it.
I love that. Both back to
Yeah.
back P6s. I mean, very impressive as a rookie in both series to finish P6.
Yeah.
But I would love to mention the
Mm.
final spot on the podium
Yes.
was taken by Noel Leon, who got another
Yes.
a P3, which was incredible. Really nice for Prema to wrap up their season with a podium with Noel. I don't think Noel will stay in F3. I can definitely see him moving upwards. Hopefully there is a seat for him in F2. Because sometimes we do get some drivers who kind of get lost between F2 and F3 and just don't progress and they go elsewhere.
Yeah.
But I would really love to see Noel because he has had some great races, some podiums this year. And yeah, that was really nice for Noel to finish his season on a high.
Yeah, it was great for Noel, and it was also great that Prema didn't just have a complete disaster weekend. We did get a podium with one of the drivers on their home track, so that was very nice to see. Also, as you mentioned, because we don't know when Noel will be racing next year. I don't see it being with Prema anymore, but I would definitely love to see him going up to F2.
I agree with you, but I think that's kind of our final weekend of F3 wrapped up. Um,
Yes.
some crazy races. We definitely missed stuff out. We've not mentioned everything that happened, but I think if we mentioned
No.
every single detail, we'd be here for a very, 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 very long time. You're probably sick of listening to us. But I'm really sad
Yeah.
the championship is over.
Same. Like it just feels wrong. Like it feels like we are just getting started. I'm like, now
Yeah.
it's just done. Like obviously we had 10 race weekends. So it has been a very interesting championship, to be honest. Like obviously it has been a very dominant championship. Like
Yeah.
we haven't been used. Like if you're new to feeder series or like new to F3 specifically, this is not normal. Like it's not normal to finish like wrap up the championship in the second to last round. Like normally it goes down to the wire. So it has definitely been cool to also see that it is possible for a driver if they just hit the ground running like Rafa did, just being super confident, taking pole in almost every weekend. Like it has been insane. And like scoring big points when it mattered. So like it has been super nice to see him having a great season, and we all know that he will move up to F2. I'm pretty sure he has also mentioned it himself. The only question being where, if you like go the which has become like the traditional route for the F3 Championship in recent years of going to Invicta in F2. We'll have to wait and see, but I could definitely see that happening, to be honest.
Definitely. And yeah, we had Mary Boyer who came home in P3. I know we mentioned Nicola in P2. Great for them. Interesting to see where Mary will go. Stick with Campos, maybe. I don't know. It's it's
Yeah.
always hard to tell at the moment because obviously F2 is not finished yet. So we're like, okay, well, will we get some people move mid-season, as we mentioned earlier? And then also once we've wrapped up F2, it will make a bit more sense of who will be staying for another season in F2 and who will be leaving the championship to make space for other drivers to come in.
Yeah, we just have to wait and see. Unfortunately, we don't know when the teams want to start announcing things. Obviously, some teams are just prepared to like throw out the news immediately, and other teams are waiting for the last possible moment. Like this year, we obviously had the AIT seat, the AIT seat in F2, not being announced until like right before the season started, and I was like, obviously, sadly, we can also have changes like with Christian Mansell being supposed to drive for Rodin, then backed out the week before the championship started. So you honestly never know what will happen.
Yeah, it is very difficult to predict. I'm sure
Mm.
we will be predicting though in a coming video because we will
Yes,
miss so much F3 so much we'll have to talk about it even more.
definitely.
Um, but yeah, it's all over. The final F3 race is over. It was
It
very
is.
exciting. Um, lots of changes in the championship in terms of with teams as well, with Campos winning, which was great. Tried coming P2. And yeah, just overall, I'm really sad. I know I've said this, but I really
Yes.
am sad. I love F3 so much. It's got such good racing. Um,
Mm.
but don't worry if you think, oh my gosh, F3 is not here. It does not mean we are going anywhere. There's still F2, there's still
No,
F1 Academy, and who knows if we have a couple of race weekends where we don't have anything else, maybe we'll dive in to a lower feeder series category, cover GP3, Frecker, who knows?
yeah, we definitely will still have plenty of content. We are also planning to hopefully soon be interviewing more drivers in some of the lower video series, but you'll have to wait and see who that will be. Definitely also make sure to follow us on all our social media, because if we, or not if, when we are interviewing drivers, we will most likely be asking you to send in questions to them that you would want them to answer. So like keep an eye out for that, because if you want your questions being asked to some of your favorite drivers, maybe if we are lucky enough to interview some of them, you'll definitely have to keep an eye out for whenever we announce that we are interviewing drivers. And also before we completely finish, talking about F3 and finish this episode because we have been yapping too much. I do want to mention that even though we've been talking about the season being dominated by Rafa, it has still really been an interesting season because in only 19 races, because obviously we had a race cancelled, in 19 races, we've had 11 different winners. So it's not like Rafa has been winning every season, not every season, that he has been winning every race. Like we've seen F1 sometimes with specific drivers. Like we had 11 different winners, which is incredible and exactly what we want to see.
Yes, exactly. F3 is such a close championship, and we have seen so many people on the top step, whether it be in the sprint or in the feature race. And I'm sure next season, the second season with this F3 car will be one to definitely tune into. The next F3 race is Melbourne next year. So
that is actually insane to think about. Like it will be a long wait. Luckily, we don't have to wait as long for F2 though, so remember that we will also still be covering that. And also, even though we have been talking for too long and we have to wrap up soon, I still feel like we have to mention now that we are talking about F2 as well, that we have some interesting news, feeder series news from the F2 world, which like hasn't been officially announced,
no.
but kind of has. Like it kind of has, but it also hasn't, because obviously everyone in the motorsport world have been talking about Colton Herta recently because IndyCar has announced that he won't be racing in IndyCar next year, and Cadillac have announced that he is their new official test driver. But that's not all that they have announced, because they have also said, like literally the CEO of Cadillac has said that they are aiming for him to race in F2 next year. So like it hasn't been announced with what team it will be yet, but it has been said that they basically want to show respect for like European open wheel formula, whatever. I don't remember what the exact quote what it was, but like they want to show respect for like European races and letting him gain that experience from being at all the most of the tracks that F1 race at. So that is definitely interesting and something to keep an eye out for whenever it will be officially announced what team he will be driving for.
Yeah. The rumors do say Prema, which will be very, very interesting if we see Colton in Prema next year. But it's not officially confirmed, but everyone in the motorsport world knows he's pretty much going to F2. He needs the super license points. And they probably won't let him go anywhere lower because he does have lots of racing experience. So it seems like F2 is the place that he will be. We will just have to wait and see who it's with.
Yes, so that's definitely something to keep an eye out on, because like it's gonna be interesting year next year, I'm sure, because I've also seen some other drivers, other IndyCar drivers, like for example Christian Lundgaard, who was also a former F2 driver but then moved over to IndyCar, saying that it won't be easy for Colton because like the level of that they have in F2 is insanely high. And also obviously we've seen that some teams are struggling more than others in this new era of F2 car. So it will be interesting because obviously it's all well and good that he's moving over to F2 to gain the experience and show respect to open wheel racing in Europe. But he still needs to finish pretty high up in the championship one to not look completely stupid as like a professional racing driver or an IndyCar moving over to F2 to prove that he deserves an F1 seat, but also because he really does need those super license points he will get the further up the championship he finishes.
Exactly. So he really needs to perform well for Cadillac as well, so that he is able to jump in that car when he needs to. But I guess that's kind of wrapping up our episodes. Follow us on all of our socials. It will be linked wherever you are watching this. If you're watching this on YouTube, it's probably below. If you're watching this on Spotify, it's linked somewhere. Follow us on TikTok. On Instagram, we have lots of specific content that we post there. But thank you so much for tuning in to the final F3 race of the season. And we will see you next week for our F2 coverage.
I hope that you enjoyed the episode, and if you're still here, actually, we thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
We have been yapping for too long. But yeah, if you want to hear everything about Monza with F2, stay tuned for next week, and we'll see you then. Bye.
Bye.